Hey, welcome to Podcast from the Pit, Toy Talk Edition. This time, talking to James, still a big kid. How are you,
Hey
James?
man, good to be here today, buddy. And I've been excited about this all week. So
Yeah, I'm trying to keep like two or three built up so I never miss a week. And so far, man, I've had nothing but really great guests. I don't see it changing today because, you're a great
well,
guy, a lot of fun to talk to. Uh,
I appreciate that, man.
but
And yeah, you've had some great conversations with the ones I've been watching the last 2 or 3 weeks. Great show.
yeah, one of my funnest ones excuse me, was a guy I've never talked to before. It was I think his name Colt. He he does Dad at Arms. He does a Motu channel, and it was so fun. It
I
gets
must have, I think the last three that I caught was Rick Ship and then um, Joe Hunter 73, and then of course Foot. I watched it today, the one with Foot. That's the ones that I've caught recently. I don't remember the other one. Have to
yeah,
go
it
back and
was
watch.
early on. It was a really good one. I mean, I learned a lot about Motu, and I finally got a chance to talk Motu since we're a GI Joe show. You'll see me with a shirt at Joe Fest. We had Joe Fest shirts made like we did last year. Last year I had a GI Joe podcast with a little Motu, and Matt, he's not a big Motu fan, so I changed it this year. It says a mostly GI Joe show. Well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, man.
the little preview, because we're going to do our live stream on Saturday, and I show off my gets there. I actually have a GI Joe for this show and tell.
Oh, Leatherneck, huh?
Leatherneck. Love Leatherneck.
Yes.
I had to get them, even though I don't do a lot of classified. I now have like 8 classified, but I had to get him, and can't wait to hear the comments.
Yeah, yeah, they will light you up, man.
Yeah, but I do have some Motu to show off, so that's always good. So how's your week going?
Man, it's been going good. Last couple of weeks were real busy. I done 3 funerals in about seven
Mm,
days. I'm a pastor, so that's
yeah,
part of it. Those are long days, and you really hate to see people you care for deeply move on. They're in a better place, of course, but this week has been really, really good. It's been beautiful weather. I've had a lot of afternoons off, so hence a lot of pictures on Instagram. Um, and my son's had a break. He had his kickoff tournament this past Saturday for baseball, and he starts his games this coming week. So once he starts the games, that'll be 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week sometimes. So
yeah. That's why I
this
thought
has
we
been a
better
good
get this
week.
in. Yeah,
Been a good week. I've enjoyed it, man. And like I say, I've got to do stuff I don't always have time to do. And if I got an hour or two in the evening and the weather's pretty, I'm going to grab something out of the cases or off the shelf or out of the totes and go outside and snap some pictures. Always
yeah. I don't
enjoyed it.
do that nearly as enough as I'd like to. I've been working 10-hour days and
Oh yeah.
streams on Saturday and spending Sundays with my granddaughter, which is the biggest blessing ever. She's awesome.
Well, I'm not there yet, but I'm looking forward to that day when it comes. You know, I've got an 8-year-old, as you saw in the pre-show, and
Yeah,
I've got a 15-year-old son, and I've got a 24-year-old daughter that moved out last year. But so hopefully within the next 3 to 4 years, I'll have a grandchild. Looking forward to it.
yeah, yeah. It's awesome. She
Oh
is
yeah,
the best.
that's great, man. That is
We're gonna
great.
we're gonna make her a little podcast from the pit shirt.
Oh,
My wife's got a
yeah,
crate. She's gonna make her one.
there you go. Okay, well,
So
there you go. There.
the like I said, you've watched a few of these. It's just conversations. Got a couple questions to maybe lead to conversations in places, but it goes where it goes. Talk as much as you want about any of the questions because
Okay,
we're here to get to know you.
I feel for them, but yeah, we'll make that happen.
All right. So you're obviously from the South. We could tell that.
That's-
So, what part?
Well, I was born and raised in a town that Ray Stevens. Anybody know Ray Stevens? You know who I'm
I
talking
do.
about? He sang
Yeah.
about that little squirrel in that sleepy town of Pascagoula.
Yeah.
I was born in Pascagoula, Mississippi,
Oh,
and so I've been on the coast all of my life. I lived at one point on the bayous. I lived. You could cast a rod off my front porch and hit the water. So I've been on the coast. I'm in Alabama now, but I'm only about 13 miles from where I grew up in Mississippi. So been on the coast my whole life. I've survived quite a few hurricanes. Never seen anything like Katrina. I love the smell of the salt water. I don't care for our humidity. It's very hot in the summer, but hey, after 50 years down here, I'm a little used to it.
yeah.
And the mosquitoes and the yellow flies get bad certain parts of the year, and what we call the biting gnats. But outside of that, I love the coast, man. And you can tell I've got that bayou drawl, I guess we'll call it. And by the way, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm only where I live out now. I'm like I think 4 or 6 miles from Bayou La Battery, which is where Tom Hanks' character. What was his name? It had the
Forrest
shrimp.
Gump.
Uh, Forrest Gump. Yes,
Yeah.
Forrest Gump had a shrimp boat set. Well,
Yeah.
not really, but that's where I'm from. So, and it's not a bad location. I can jump on the interstate here in about 4 minutes from my house, and I can be in New Orleans in an hour and 45 minutes. I can be in Pensacola in an hour and 10 minutes. I'm 20 minutes from Mobile, our big city. Uh, 20 minutes from Pascagoula, so I'm in a good hub.
Yeah.
They have a big St. Tammany toy convention every year, and I haven't been to it the last 2 or 3 years, but it's getting bigger and bigger, and that's only about an hour and 45 minutes from me. So it's a good location, man. I love where I'm from, and I love seafood.
Oh, me too.
Um, Man, my mama and my wife's can do it just like her, but we get the fried shrimp and bull shrimp, the gumbo and the fried fish, and
Oh, yeah.
that's and we did that stuff growing up. My dad worked; he was a milkman, which he didn't make a lot of money, and but
My
he
dad was a
offset that.
milkman.
Really,
Yeah. Compton Dairy. Yeah.
my dad was with Dairy Fresh, and had good years and bad years, because it was always off commission.
Yeah.
And when we're not, I worked at Ingalls Shipbuilding, and there was a time when they had like the USS Iowa there in the '80s, and so when he had that milk route, he made good money, and I had some good Christmases a couple of years, and all of them were good. I mean, but yeah, man, my dad was a milkman, and we shrimped on the side. He oystered, which he didn't take us because that's a really hard work, and we were just kids. I mean, we fish constantly, and I love it, man. I, I,
Yeah.
I love where I'm at. Like I say, I don't care for hurricanes,
Right.
um, but no matter where you go, you're going to find something to deal with.
We
I've
get
tried to
tornadoes.
deal with
So,
tornadoes, yeah. And man, believe it or not, we have seen more tornadoes on the coast in the last 3 or 4 years than I've ever seen in my life. They're not the big L4 and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think we have any fatalities from them, but they'll tear your house apart and your shed, and
mhm.
but yeah, you got blizzards up north, earthquakes. I mean, there's nowhere to hide really. And the
So,
good thing about a hurricane is you get pretty good warning.
yeah.
You know, you get a few days warning if at sometimes you can get out of Dodge, and usually we'll just ride them out in if we got to break home or something.
Yeah.
We'll just ride them out here. But anyway, that's where I'm from. That's my backstory. I grew up on the bayous. We used to say we have mud between our toes. If you look closely, it's still there. We all ran around barefooted in that swampy water. But that's my upbringing, my friend. So
My brother lives in Alabama now. He loves it.
what part is he from, or is he in? I'm sorry,
Yeah. It's I'm gonna. Is that Huntington or Hunt something? Huntsville.
Huntsville.
Yeah.
Huntsville.
Yes.
Yeah, Huntsville's about 5.5 hours north of me. He's more toward the northern part of the state. Yeah, that's where the big space center's at in Huntsville.
Yeah. When last time I went to see him, we went there. It was for his birthday, and he wanted to go.
I've never been to it, but I know it's here.
I mean, it's cool, but it's not really my thing. But it's his
Yeah,
birthday, and I haven't seen him in like 8 years, so I was happy to do it.
sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you mentioned that I am. Uh, I'll just throw this right quick at you. Is I've been blessed that my two brothers, who I'm close with, and my parents, who are both still living, and my wife's parents and her siblings, we all still live within probably 20 minutes of each other.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
great.
so
Yeah.
we're all still close. We get together every holiday, and I don't take it for granted.
No.
You know, at all. But I love you, baby. Not you, Casey. I was talking to my wife. So anyway, but I don't take that for granted. Being in ministry and being there for people in those dark moments makes you has made me realize the last 25 years how precious life is, and take every day. Appreciate every day rather. But yeah, man, I'm just that's just a little background on me and my
Yeah.
family.
I always, you know, in my job, I always meet a lot of younger people who will always be like, I don't talk to my mom or dad anymore, for whatever reason. I'm always like, look, you don't get this time back. I lost my
Right.
dad when I was 21.
Oh man.
I lost my mom like 15 years ago.
Oh man.
You do
Way
not
too
get
young,
that
Casey.
back. Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
that's way
I'm I'm older than my dad was when he passed away.
wow. Yeah, and it's going and I dread those days, not to bring a damper here, but
No, I mean
you
it
know, I just
happened.
want to be realistic. I dread those days because me and my dad, he's the one in our family that I inherited the love for the military aspect of stuff. He loved. He bought me GI Joe because he played with a 12-inch when he was
Yeah,
growing up, and to this day, when I get a history book, he reads it. He watches a documentary. He calls me. I see him about 4 or 5 days a week, and we just.
it's
I
great.
dread to think about that day when it comes,
Yeah,
but I enjoy the journey, man. I'm enjoying the journey.
yep. And my dad was real big on buying us GI Joes when they came out. It was probably the easiest sell. We're
Yeah.
like, how about these? Because we moved away from Star Wars, which he had zero interest in. And he's like, yes, I'll get these. And I mean, it's just so fun. My brother's like a year older than me, a little bit over a year. And I was telling the story the other day that we never played together, and we didn't. We always played by ourselves, but
Hmm.
we shared our toys so well that if
Yeah.
he was playing
Yeah. I
with
heard you
those,
and
I'll
Foot.
play with something
Yeah.
else. Yeah,
Yep, you was telling Foot about that, and I'm the oldest, and my middle brother is about 14 months younger than me, and then the third brother is about 16 months younger than him. 74, 76, 78, we were all born. Well, my youngest brother kind of took up the interest in GI Joe, but I didn't let him play with me. Uh, and the middle brother was Hot Wheels, and he loved the wrestling doll, the figures, the old LJNs, and
oh yeah,
he liked
cool.
construction equipment and all that stuff, but now, Fantastic Toy Robot,
Yeah,
Anthony or Mike as he's known, um, me and him had a many a battle, brother. I mean, that's all we did. We get together on Saturday, and man, we take about 4 hours setting up everything, and the battle lasted about 10 minutes. But the fun part was setting it up, and a lot of great memories with him playing GI Joe. And here we are, both 50 years old, and all these years later, still enjoying it.
hey, real quick, tell the story. I love the story. I told my wife this about the last time you and him played GI Joe together.
Okay, yeah, we had we were I'm gonna say 18, 19 maybe. And we had went to there used to be it's still here, but it's not as big as it used to be, a big flea market. And we had stopped at a couple of garage sales, yard sales, and ended up at a flea market and saw some Joes for sale. And it's like I looked at him, I'm thinking, you thinking what I'm thinking? And he's like, yeah, man. So we went back to his house and dug out all the Joes because I lived in a mobile home growing up, so we had no storage. So he lived in his parents had a house on stilts. And man, we dug out our GI Joes, and my uncle had a dirt pit behind his house. And here we are out there, grown men, big old battle set up, man. And we had a blast that day, brother. It was so fun. If that's the story you're talking about. That was the last time. Man, we set up and we went out there and I ended up losing. I'll never forget because I left behind my stalker with the white kayak,
Mm,
you know, and I'll never forget I lost him that day. And I hated to lose anything as a boy. I'd tear a yard up looking for a gun, or backpack.
yeah.
But we had so much fun that day, man. And it's a memory I'll always cherish. You know what I mean?
It
It
you
was
know
it was fun. It was a blast.
it's one of my favorite stories I've ever heard. I love it.
Well, it's because we we just were able to do it and make it happen, and nobody saw us. Now, um, there's a guy that I just started following on Instagram that does a lot of oh man, what's his name? Escadrille Cobra or something. Anyway, he does a lot of backyard play-in events like that. And I think he's got some sons. I mean, he's got Mobats running over Cobra bunkers, and they put a string up with like the Cobra Claw coming down and attacking, and it takes you back to those kind of moments. And my son's 15, and when he was younger, he loved GI Joe, but you know he started uh he started growing up, and he started learning about girls and baseball and a gaming system, and so he's out of Joe's, but maybe he'll come back around before it's all said and done.
Hey, give me 1 minute. I gotta try to get this dog to quit barking. She
Oh,
wants
you're good.
treats.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
Sorry, I love that dog, but she can wear on me.
Oh, I know. I've got one that wants to wake up every morning at 5 o'clock, and go out, uh, which is not a bad thing. But I'm a night owl, so I'm usually in bed about 2. Uh, you
Yeah,
know.
she's 16 years old. I
Oh,
got
she's old.
her
Yeah.
the same week my mom passed away, so she really
Oh,
means a
yeah.
lot to me.
Sure. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
But yeah, so she barks because she wants more treats, and like a chump, I'll just give her treats because she's already old. I mean, what am I gonna do?
Well, that's what I do when I want something to eat. I just bark at my wife.
Yeah,
So what you want now? Give me some ice cream. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't work that way. She said, "Get up, and get your own ice cream."
right. So yeah, as a child, was it only Joe, or did you have other? I mean, you said earlier before we got on here that you didn't have any Motu.
Yeah, I was pre-82. So I'm 8 years old. Christmas of '82. Before that point, I played with the green plastic Timmy Ormy men. My dad would buy the little, I think it was monogram Revell snap type B-25 and P-51 Mustang. These were World War II fighters. So everything was military. Man, listen, I used to take my mother's clothespins. I think I told this story. And if you put three clothespins together, it looks like a biplane. And I
Oh,
would I would make a whole carrier load because I'd have a piece of plywood, a little short piece, and I would play with that, man. I'd fly clothespins through the air doing dog fights.
yeah.
Anything military. I remember when I was real young. I think my dad got me. I don't think it was a Spider-Man helicopter, and I saw one online the other day that was made by a different company, but it was made to fit the Mego figures of the late '70s. And
Like
I've
a
got
what,
pictures.
9 inch, 9 inch Migos.
Yeah, yeah, but the helicopter was
Mhm.
pretty big, kind of a cheesy look to it, but man, I once Joe's came out that first year, my dad bought me. It was a good year because I got everything they made that year as far as Joe vehicles, every Joe equipment, and the only Joes I didn't get was Scarlet, Breaker, and Flash. I got everything else, but he also bought me 3 or 4 of the Sergeant Rock, the
Okay.
Remco
Yeah.
little machine gun nest, and And man, I'm kind of like Foot. I think it was Foot, or maybe you were talking about. I didn't see Star Wars, man, to like the mid '80s when it came on
Yeah,
television.
yeah.
I didn't even know what it was, and I never had it. I ended up with some from Anthony, Fantastic Toy Robot through trading. Of course, we all did trading back then. Um, and I loved the concept of Transformers. I loved them, and my dad just didn't buy me any. He's like, they're expensive and they're silly, and I love Transformers. I didn't miss the cartoons, man. I had the comic books. I didn't even know anything about Motu. Undoubtedly, it's regional. I mean, I don't know because even growing up, I don't remember seeing the cartoon in our area. Our Saturday morning lineup, I didn't see Motu. After school, I didn't see the Motu cartoon. I didn't know any of the kids at school that had any. You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
I can remember. My dad bought me the remember the core, the early core. It was like the GI Joe figure. They call them the core.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, CORPS.
Hmm.
Uh, and the was it Rim Galoob, the Galoob 18, the little was like GI Joe straight arm 18, the 4-pack. They all
Yeah.
had
The
a color
O-ring.
jumpsuit on.
Yeah.
Yeah, O-ring. I had those, and I remember because it came in a big old set. I'm looking at one on eBay right now, but I don't want to drop $300.
No.
First of all, I don't have it. I'm saving it for Joe Fest. But that was what I played with, man. And I still built model kits and but I never had anything. I did end up with some Star Wars, and I remember I would make the Star Wars figures like I had a snow trooper without the cape and stuff like that. And I would make them like they'd be the gunner on the hiss.
Yeah.
They fit down on the hiss turret, stuff like that. But I never really had outside of the A Team and G.I. Joe and Sergeant Rock. I had a few Transformers. He ended up buying me Ironhide. I'll never forget, which was the goofiest looking one.
Yeah.
The way they made him. Um, and I don't remember if I had any others. I got through trading maybe, but I had an Optimus Prime a few years later, but he was missing his fist, but I got him in a trade. But it was basically military toys, man.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. He bought me some of the Rambo. Um, they're about 6 inch.
Yeah.
He didn't buy me the figures. He bought me. They had the weapon sets, like a 50 cal on a tripod and a 50 cal on like a anti-aircraft mount and a big mortar. And I had another hiss without a turret on it, and so I took the 50 cal and mounted it without the tripod on that hiss. And so, I mean, we're talking, dude. I mean, I'm a kid, so it's custom way back in the day.
Oh
I
yeah.
couldn't stand a hiss without some kind of gun on it.
Have to have a
Uh,
gun.
but yeah, I really, really had that's really all I had, man, growing up. I mean, I loved superheroes, read comics in my, you know, early teens, preteen, but I didn't have any of the Secret Wars figures or nothing,
Yeah.
none of the Kenner superpowers or super friends, what they were called. But I
Super
liked all
powers.
that. I liked Star Wars. I liked Ninja Turtles when they but Ninja Turtles came out when I was in seventh grade, and I never had any of their figures. But
Yeah. I got the four main turtles. That's all I got, and I think I was probably too old to get them, but I got them anyway. Love the cartoon.
I did
Um,
too, man.
I might actually try to get the original four again. Just that's it. That's all I want. It's not going to be a rabbit hole like Motu or anything like that. Uh, Speaking of Joe Fest, how long of a drive is that?
Well, the last year it took us about 6.5 hours. It's not too bad at
No.
all. Maybe seven. If I drove by myself, it'd be about five. Yeah. Of course, the guy that I'm coming with this year, uh, it may be five when he drives. And I thought about flying, but then I told myself it wouldn't be any good because if I bought something, I'm not going to be able to bring it back. And I don't mind a road trip by myself, because man, with podcasts and audio books and
Oh
I
yeah.
don't get bored. So, you know, I mean, I'll talk to myself the whole way there if I had to. You know what I mean? So,
There's plenty of podcasts from the pit podcasts out there. So
oh yeah. Well, man, looks, and I listened to you guys when you and Matt first started.
yeah,
Those first few episodes, I remember the excitement, and every week y'all talk about what you'd picked up, or whenever it was, every few weeks, or was it every week
yeah.
at
I mean, we
first? I can't
weren't. I tell people we weren't Johnny on the spot with the episodes. It was new to us, and it we probably would have stopped doing them real quick if we didn't get good advice and help from Order Battle, great guys. Anything Joe's, they're just awesome. And Chaplin's Assistant Motor Pod reached out to
Yeah.
all three of them. They all gave us different, but all good advice. And to this day, they're all like really good friends. So
Well, I definitely need to check out the first two you mentioned. I've known they existed. I think I even checked them out on YouTube, but I've not been as consistent.
yeah,
I've listened to the Chaplain Assistant Motorpod quite a few times. I like his setup too, and I was listening pretty regular to Audible Interlude.
great
I hadn't
guys.
caught them the last few months, but they seem to be like great guys as well.
Yeah.
Um,
They'll be at Joe Fest. You get a chance to talk to them. They're all approachable.
yeah,
Audible
yeah,
Interlude, they're some of the nicest guys I've ever talked to.
that's
And
good. That's what I
we're
like
lucky.
about this community. You know,
Early on, we had two of them on the show, and it was a lot of fun. We couldn't get all three because Noel was busy. Then we did an episode with both Order Battle guys and one Anything Joe's all together. It was so fun.
I need to go back and watch that one. I'll go back and check that one out. Definitely.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was good. It was right after we just all met up at a show in Kentucky. So it was like the following week. It was a good
Yep.
time.
What show is that you guys go to in Kentucky?
There's two. In July, we'll go to uh, called Kentucky Anna. And
Kentucky, okay.
yep, it's all GI Joe. I mean, you'll see other stuff there, but it's mostly set up. You're going to have about 40% of the vendors doing the 12-inch because
Hmm.
that's how it started, was 12-inch,
Yeah, yeah,
and the other 60 doing 3 3/4 and the 6-inch, and it's just a good time. Great vendors.
yeah. That's where I've heard of that show from the 12-inch groups I'm in on Facebook. Yeah, and there's another one. What part of Kentucky is that one in?
Shepherdsville, which is a suburb of Louisville.
Okay, okay. You're not too far from there, are you?
About hour and 20 minutes, I think.
Oh, it ain't bad at all, man. It's not bad at all. Yeah.
Again, I have to apologize for this dog. She was not listening to me.
Listen, hey, Casey, I don't hear nothing. I promise you. But
Yeah.
we have I'm probably about 4.5 hours, maybe 5 from Atlanta.
Mhm.
And I've thought about going to Joe Atlanta in the past. I've not made it yet. Um,
Is that the one that just merged with PowerCon, or is that Toylanta?
I'm not sure. I may have to check it out and see. I
Because
remember for years
I'm
they had
going.
wasn't it Joe Lana? Then they broke off and had Toy Lana separate.
I think so.
And then maybe that's what, but I've not made, and like I say, they're actually closer than Joe Fest. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being there last year, Joe Fest, so I'm stoked about coming this year as
Yeah. Last
well.
year was your first, right?
Yeah, yeah, man. The first convention I ever made was the last JoeCon they had in Chattanooga. The last year they had it, and I was on my way. A family a friend of ours, we had went with them on vacation to Gatlinburg, and I'm like, that joke con is going to be on the way, so I stopped for about 2 hours, and I really didn't enjoy myself. I was in a hurry, and realized later it was the last one. But then I made Joe Fest last year, man, and that was just a. And this year I want to do something at Joe Fest I didn't get to do much of last year. and that is just to enjoy the camaraderie with everybody. Because this year I'm going to be staying in the hotel, of course. Fantastic toy robots coming. He's in the hotel as well. And I want to just hang out with the guys and spend time. Because basically, I met you, I met Matt and Eric last year. A couple of guys stopped me and said, "Hey, I'm so and so," and they were boom. They was on their way. They were gone. So I didn't get to really meet any of the guys that I've been friends with for years on Instagram. So I'm really looking forward. I told my wife if I don't buy anything, I'll be happy just to be there with everybody. And I'm not coming with anything set in stone. Like I'm looking for this outside of some. My wife's gone; she can't hear me. But outside of some Delta 17, I've got to get some Delta 17. Man, I'm way late to the dance for that one.
They are going to have a cool, sorry, exclusive for Joe Fest. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you tune in to our show on Friday night next week, I don't know what time we're starting, but they're going to do theirs live on Toy Connections. Then they're coming over to
Mhm.
our show, and
Oh,
we're going to do
sweet.
about an hour. And it'll be all about Joe Fest and the exclusives. And
Oh yeah,
Delta
man.
17 is such a great line. I
Yeah,
have
oh, I'm gonna grab. Last year I ended up grabbing some Marauders and I ended up grabbing some Skeletron fig. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I grabbed a few Skeletron figures and man, I got Bob Reckon to sign one of them. Of course, I have it in my glass case here, but and I walked by Delta 17 table and held them in my hands and was almost going to get them. I said, well, I'm already committed to these and I was on a budget, and I said, well, I'll get them in the future. Here we are a year later and I haven't gotten them yet, but that'll change, hopefully. you know.
I mean, the smart thing is to get it at Joe Fest. That way you don't have to pay shipping.
Yes. Yes.
She's wearing me out. The let's go back to Joe for a few.
All right.
Who's your favorite Joe and who's your favorite Cobra? All
Oh
time.
man. Cobra will be easy for me. And I may be on an island with this one, but I just love vintage Cobra Commander Chrome Dome. I don't know what it is about that blue outfit with that silver face mask, but he will probably be my all-time favorite Cobra figure. And it may maybe just because he was the first one that I got mail order. Um, and so, and I may have mentioned this in the past, but um, my dad mail ordered about 7 of them. They were what, $1 and something shipping with flag points or whatever. And man, so I had an army of Cobra Commanders. You know, but with Joe's, man, it always comes back to a certain few. I loved rock and roll growing up, watching war movies and reading Sergeant Rock and just something about the you know machine gun belts. That early run didn't have a lot of accessories. You and I know that. No
Yeah.
backpack or nothing. Had that big old MG 42 style gun, kind of like M60 between MG 42 and I love Stalker. Dude, I thought Stalker was so cool, man. And then I don't know, man. I mean, Snake Eye, the original Commando Snake Eyes was one of my favorites. Man, that's a hard question, Casey. I loved Gung Ho, and Roadblock. I mean, I don't know, man. It's all those guys were just, but probably out of those I've mentioned, just of all the play time that I had, because my rock and roll was broken right off the bat, and I didn't know anything about replacing O rings. But I probably Stalker. I mean, I don't know, dude. I hate to say it's my favorite. Then all of a sudden I start thinking about guys that came out later in the years, um, and I'll tell you one that I really, and not just because I'm talking to you, but honest, one of my favorites of all time was Airborne. I loved Airborne, man, and still do. And he's one of the few classified that I have.
Right. Me too.
Uh,
Had to have them.
you know, And I loved another guy that I thought was unique. And I remember when I got him, I really enjoyed playing with him was Fast Draw. I mean, he was weird looking, but I'm like this big heavy armor suit, with these missiles. Of course, fire those two, get off the battlefield.
Right.
So,
Two and
but
done. Yeah. They classify him. I'll get that one too.
oh yeah,
I love
yeah, yeah,
Castro. Yeah.
yeah.
And
I,
Hardball.
I,
Love Hardball. I think he's underrated.
I never had hardball. I'll probably add him to the collection. I'm at a place where my whole O-ring collection's behind me here, which is about 150 figures and vehicles. There's nothing I'm dying to get, but when I see figures, I'm going to pick them up and throw them in the case. You know what I mean? And I never had a hard ball. I never had uh, stretcher guys like that. I never had growing up. That is some of those later Joes like the version 2 Dusty. Um, I didn't have Hit and Run as a child, but I have him now, and he's such a great figure. I love Hit and Run, man. I never had Alpine, and I've got an Alpine, of course, and Lord, I can talk that all day, man. That I don't, but when it comes to favorites, I'll just say those top three would probably be Stalker, Rock and Roll, Snake Eyes. I'm such a bland guy, I guess. For the OG 13s, I'm a sucker.
Yeah, they're great. The what is your favorite toy in your collection right now? One toy you just look at and like, and you get
Joe
joy.
Toy,
Any
GI
toy,
Joe.
any toy.
Oh man, I'll just stick with Joe because I've got a huge collection of that 118th military stuff out there. But the probably Killer Whale, the hovercraft. Um, I had so much fun with it as a boy. You know, especially with our when we had rain down on the bayous, the ditches. It took 2 weeks for the water to get out of the ditches. So you'd find us in ditch water, thigh deep with my hovercraft, and I thought what a great place set. The growing up, the flag was out of the question. We didn't have a bedroom big enough for it. The tear drone, none of that I could have ever owned. And between the Sky Striker and the hovercraft, man, Killer Whale is probably my favorite Joe vehicle I have, the toy I have altogether.
Yeah, I know I told the story 1,000 times, but I got my hovercraft at Joe Fest a couple years ago for $60.
Oh, that's not bad at all, man.
Yeah,
I got
body
mine
swap.
complete probably about 8 years ago from a guy that used to buy and sell down here. I became friends with, and he gave me mine complete, cutter, file card, everything for $75 then. That's a $300 vehicle now, easy, man, or more if it's complete.
Oh,
The
for
only thing I
sure.
don't like is my cutters kind of how them blue figures, they've kind of what's that lose their color.
Kind of turns green.
Yeah, yeah. I need a new cutter to look
Yeah,
fresh, but
that's the easiest
yeah,
part to replace.
yep, yeah. Oh yeah, that one. No doubt. No doubt.
Now, a question I like to ask is, okay, so we know what your favorite is. Do you have any toy? It could be any toy that you have, but do you have like buyer's remorse for? Like, I shouldn't have got that. I paid too much for that. It's not worth it.
Yes, yes. And for the reason that space wise, I ended up buying a collection of 118th World War II aircraft. Now this is what you call true 118th. You know what I mean? So it's a scaled. So and I have them. I'm actually fixing to start listing them. Hopefully, can sell them just because of the size of them. I'm like they were excited to look at in the box. When you get them out of the box and put the wings on the fuel slides, you're like, holy cow, these things are huge. And so I've had remorse with a bunch of those just because of the size of them. Now I love the 118th Hueys. I plan on keeping them things forever. But those aircraft are they're so big, man. It's I've got them out in my shed out back because I don't have room for them anywhere in the house, and they're just. I mean, and I didn't know this a while back, but the GI Joe Sky Striker is actually the same size as a 132nd F-14 Tomcat model. So GI Joe's classified as 1/18th, 3 3/4, but the Sky Striker is actually scaled on a 1/32nd. So true 1/18th, and my brother had a true 1/18th F-14 Tomcat, and this thing is huge, And so imagine the planes I have. So that's the remorse I have for those, just because of the size of them, and I want to sell them, but I don't want to ship them because I don't have the original boxes anymore. And you try to ship something with antennas and gun barrels on them, and they break and snap, But
Yeah, I always tell people if they want the flag really to be 1/18 scale, it's going to be a heck of a lot bigger than it is.
oh Lord, yeah, yeah. And again, I love the 1/18th tanks and trucks and half tracks because I've got a lot of military figures. But yeah, GI Joe did it the right way. He made it playable. I mean, if I'm a 10-year-old boy, there's no way I could hold up a 1/18th airplane and fly
Right.
it around the house. They're so big. So, and I think who is it? Is it Delta 17 or who was it that put the feeler out last year about doing a Hind
Delta
helicopter?
17.
Because they'd
They're
asked a
still talking
question:
about
Do
it.
you want
Yes.
true 1/18th or do you want it scaled down? And they had a vote and I'm like, no, don't do it true 1/18th. It'll be huge, too big.
Right.
Do it the way Joe's. Because honestly, I had one a true 1/18th Cobra gunship, and it's actually the same size as the HasLab, actually bigger, longer than the HasLab 1/18th. Classified Dragonfly. So that's how big those are. So Joe's always did that right. They scaled it the way it needed to be for kids.
And can you
You know,
imagine a 1/12 scale flag?
Yeah. You'd have to pull it on a boat trailer, man, behind your vehicle to get it home.
It's crazy. I know Hillbilly always says, if I had one, I would take it to Australia and pick Ronnie up.
Oh, Eric, man, love that guy.
Cracks me
Him
up.
and Roddy.
Oh, Ronnie's so cool. Uh, and, we always give him grief about Joe Fest. And I hope people don't take it as we're being mean to him because it's all Ronnie loves it. The whole thing is, I always tell people, Ronnie's probably my best friend that I've never met in person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
So I would just love, hopefully 2026.
Hmm.
Hopefully, him and Shark Eyes can make it down because that would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. And by the way, man, I don't cutting up. Listen, where I'm from, that my neck of the woods, even at the church I'm at and all, if the guys aren't picking on each other, giving each other a hard time, they're not really friends,
Yeah.
you know. And that's the way I've always been. And I know, I hope I've never rubbed anybody raw, that way. And but that's just the way we are, man. And
Hmm.
I've always enjoyed when Ronnie's on the show. He's got his bingo card to list.
Yeah.
He's so funny, man.
Yeah. I think he marks down for the skid marks. And if we're doing a list, Eric was no doubt going to say this was a hard list. So he always writes that down.
Absolutely.
But, I always tell people we're not a big show. We're just under 300 subs, but we average about 20 people a live stream, and they're all great.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the
absolutely.
chat is going. They're engaged. We got people that if I don't see them that week, I'm worried about them because
Yeah,
they're always there, and they always add something to the show, and I'm grateful for every one of them.
absolutely, man. Larry's a great guy too.
Yes, I
He is
would
so
love
funny.
for Larry to come to Joe Fest one year.
Absolutely. Well, if I was a wealthy man, I'd make a way for all of them to get there. I just don't.
Yeah.
But but
Okay. So we've already talked about a lot of my questions, so we'll just keep the conversation going.
I'm sorry, I'll jump ahead of you.
No, it's
Okay.
It's just how it works, and it's just easy conversation. It's easy talk. And so you don't do classified. You only have a couple. I'm the same way. It's not that I
I've
don't
got,
like them. I just with
yeah,
everything else
yeah.
I collect, they're just too big.
I actually pulled mine out of the tote the other night, put them on the shelf in my closet. I've got 25 of them.
Ooh.
Yeah. For a guy who don't collect classified, it's a lot.
When I
But
got
every
rid
one
of
of
mine,
those,
I got rid of 100.
wow.
But I had a lot of
See,
troop
see
builders.
all of mine came from Fantastic Toy Robot.
Hmm.
Christmas presents, we still send each other birthday gifts, all of that, man. And so the ones I have, I cherish, and I
Right. I don't
open
get
them
rid of
up.
gifts.
I'll get pictures with them. They're cool. I really was, I like I really wanted to collect the OG 13 ones,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm thinking about getting my hands on the new rock and roll they just released and selling my other rock and roll where he's got the tattoos and the white
Mm-hmm.
part on the shirt. That's a great figure. I love it. But when it compared to the new one, I'm like, yeah, I mean, but yeah, he has really hooked me up, man, with some great figures. And so those that I have, uh, I've got them displayed now in my walk-in closet. So,
That's cool. Yeah. The I only have a few displayed. I got Serpentor with his chariot, Clutch with the vamp, Iron Grenadier, of course. I loved Iron Grenadier, and Cover Girl. But I put a different head on her because I hated the head it came with the figure.
oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't have any of those you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, I've got Stalker and Snake Eyes, and I've got the first Cobra Commander, the little box, the neat little box, and I
Oh,
have never
yeah.
opened it. But I've got Chrome Dome, the retro one he sent me. I've got the original Cobra uh, from Cobra Island, Target exclusive, and I thought that was a great figure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Man, I've got like Tiger Force Outback and Tiger Force Bazooka and different ones like that. And he sent me. Let's see, I've got all three. I don't have the Marine yet, but I've got the the Action Sailor, Action Soldier, and the Action Pilot, which kind of looks like Hit and Run.
Yeah.
Torpedo, Shipwreck. And that Shipwreck's just cool. I'm gonna be honest with you, he's a cool figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a nice little collection of them for a guy that doesn't buy much or at all.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like, but I actually, when you're talking 6-inch military, I actually prefer the Valverse figures. It's just because they weren't around when I was a kid, so they're all new
Right.
to me. So I don't feel like I'm buying the same thing over and over again.
I've got one Valorverse that my buddy here locally gave me. He's a great figure too, man. It's the one that's modeled off Tim Kennedy. Um,
I think
the
it's
old Green
Duster.
Beret Duster. Yep, yep. I've got him. I love the fact he's got the regular head and the head with the expression on it. The facial expression, and so I've got him displayed as well, and he's a great figure, man. Those are cool figures.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those. I got a whole bunch of them over here. Like I like the bad guys. I like the cavalry troopers or whatever they are. Cavalry garrison cavalry.
Okay.
One of the two. But I love their color scheme. I love the helmets. But like I said, I never had them as a kid, so it's
Hmm.
new to me. Now, have you always collected toys, or did you take a break?
Yeah, I took a break. Man, even up through as a senior in high school, I was still slipping into Walmart and buying Joes here and there. I bought I think the last one I bought was the Cobra Commander that was kind of buffed and had the red face shield, gold helmet, come with the little glider launcher. Him and Grunt from that run, I believe. And um, and what happened? I think about it. My senior in high school, I became a Christian, which I kind of started going in some, because I just, long story behind that. I had joined the Army Delayed Entry Program and had to have a surgery which nullified my enlistment. And so in all that process, I became a Christian. And all of a sudden I went on a different journey, you know. And it's not that I didn't like but by that time GI Joe was phasing out. You know what I mean? I mean it that last year, that was 93, I was a senior, see. So 94 they were done. And I had Anthony had a lot of not all of my stuff, our stuff together at his place, and had nowhere to store it. Um, and so, man, for the next, Lord, I got married in 97. And so for the next probably, man, up until, well, let's see, we're in 2025. And I guess my son, he's 15. So he was about 4 or 5 when he found the few Joes that I had in my shed. So you figure 10, 11 years ago, he got them out. And I just got on Instagram, and man, I just learned about hashtagging, you know, the hashtag. So I hashtagged GI Joe, and that was it, brother. That was all it took. I saw these guys posting pictures, and I found my figures, and I started saying, I wonder if I can find the part, like the missing guns. And I still got a lot of those here in the case, but and man, that was it. But even in that time frame where I wasn't collecting or buying anything, yes, I'd walk up and down the toy house. I remember the 25th Joes, and I was like, oh, these look cool, and I didn't know what I'd do with them or put them, you know. And so I guess maybe 10, 12 years ago, I really got back. Let's see, he's 15, he was about 4, so 11 years ago, my son, that kind of started me back on this journey, you know. And I've enjoyed it. Uh, it resurrected a lot of the interest that was just dormant, you know. Because anytime I'd go to a store or something, or maybe like a flea market, and I'd see vintage stuff, and I'd see GI Joe. I remember one night I was in Books a Million, and I don't remember which book it was. It might have been Mark Bellamo's first one or something. I can't remember. And I was like, I slipped into it, like, man, I know I could name every character without looking at them still. I'm like, man, you never forget this stuff, you know, just it's ingrained in you. And but yeah, I kind of hit a dry season there, I guess you would say, you know. I've made up for it though, brother. I've made up for it big time, you know. And
Yeah. I always to be like, I stopped collecting toys for a long time. My wife's like, you did not. I guess. And she's right, because she usually is. I did a lot of Star Trek. I love Star Trek.
okay, yeah.
So the Playmates, I wasn't opening them. I was tacking the cards to the wall, with the figures.
Hmm.
And so I did a lot of those. Then I worked at a comic book store, so I was getting, part time, and I was getting like comic figures. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's right. There was never a time I didn't collect comics or toys or something. And,
Right.
but taste change. I actually went back and started getting some of the Playmate Star Trek figures again, because you can get them for $5 a piece, even on the card. And I never view toys as an investment.
No,
I think it
no.
takes the
Well,
magic out of the whole
yeah,
process.
yeah.
And I've got a few health issues. I know I'm not going to be around forever. So,
Right, right.
and we've got it set up where Matt, when something happens to me, hopefully not for a long time, he will sell all my stuff for my wife, so
Hmm.
she'll get the money and she won't get ripped off.
Sure. Well, that's what I told my son the other day. I said, son, something happens to dad, all this is yours, and you can sell it, you know, and take advantage of that. But I did actually, and I didn't think about this, Casey, but I started getting back into collecting stuff probably around 2000. But it wasn't GI Joe. It was I posted a picture yesterday, but I've got a huge collection of die-cast armor made by Forces of Valor, 21st century, 12-inch figures they made. Anything was World War II. That was always I mean, I'm looking at about 4 or 5 bookshelves here with 500 plus books on World War II. That's always been a interest of mine since before I could read, and so I was collecting those things. When you're thinking about that, I had 21st century 12-inch figures and all before I ever had my son. So yeah, I actually started collecting back a lot earlier. I was just thinking about G.I. Joe when you asked that question, but yeah, I've been collecting back, man, probably since 2000, 2001, maybe, and yeah, man. No, Lord, Casey, I was still living. I have to do things memory wise from where I was living at. So I was living up the road here when I first got married, and I had 12-inch figures and 132nd Ultimate Soldier then, and that was a 90, 98, 99. So yeah, I guess I didn't take but about 6 years old, you know. But I liked. My dad used to watch Star.
All right. Sorry about that, but I want to get one more question in, and it's my absolute favorite. Give me, and I've probably asked you before, but answers always change. Give me one TV show, cartoon, old toy, old toys, or a movie, or a book series that does not have a toy line that you would love to see toys come out for, that you would just be all in on. You'd be like, I got to get every one of those.
Let me ask you this question. There's one I have in mind. They did a toy line years ago, but it wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
Does that qualify
Yeah,
for an
for
answer?
sure.
I would love to see someone do a full line and do it very well of one of my favorite books or series of books, a trilogy and movies as well as Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean done really well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good quality figures with a full line and you can only build orcs and all of that. Yeah, that's one of the first ones that really jumps out at me. I think before I talked about even like a tour of duty line, but you would be limited to a helicopter and a tank and a jeep and a bunch of figures that looked alike. So
Yeah.
but
I mean, I've had
I
some
love.
pretty good answers from people like Pirates of Dark Water. A couple people said that, and I've never even seen the cartoon.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember that.
And Lawrence from A Punk with Toys said 18 from the TV series. He wants 18 figures.
Yes, yes, yeah. That'd be. And again, I know Diamond Select done some Lord of the Rings. I had a bunch of those, but it just and the Toy Biz done those that whole run, but they were not well done to me. And
Mm-hmm.
but they had a lot of the characters. I'd love to see somebody do it in a very articulated scale, or figures rather, and man, even a 1/18 scale would be cool because you could
Yeah.
get the big trolls and Treebeard and I'm sure once we get off here in a minute that I'll think of 10 more. I probably
But
would have loved to see.
you know who would do a great job at that would be Four Horsemen, who do Mythic Legions,
Yes.
but they would be pricey.
Oh yeah.
But they could do the orcs the right size. They,
Yes.
it's just insane what they do, and it's
Their stuff is so cool, man. It
yeah.
is so cool. And
I had to
and I,
jump out of that line quick because it would have broke me.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't have any of them. I like looking at their stuff, especially when people take pictures of them and post
Yeah.
them in the photo shoots. Man, I'm like, oh, those look so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I shared one with a big kid. I mean, a toy robot today. A picture of just like I don't know, like a Viking style figure, man, a barbarian. I was like, oh, that figure is so cool, but I don't know what that thing would cost.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, I'm sure there's others I'll think about,
Yeah. I think
later on.
I think Vikings would have been a good toy line too. That TV show.
Off that show, TV
Yeah.
show, yeah. And I've heard some guys on the podcast and all give some great answers, man. And yeah, I've talking about Foot. I'd asked him. He's checking into it for me. I'm trying to get him to create an O-ring set of the adventure team, 12-inch adventure team here.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
So he's checking into that for me. But Casey, I've enjoyed it, buddy. I've
Me too.
enjoyed this conversation, and man, I hate my internet. What happened around here?
Yeah.
Everything in the house went off for a second. I'm like, Lord, what have I done? I knew I paid my power bill, but
and stuff like that happens when we do
yeah.
everything online. That's what happens.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tell people where they can find your pictures and stuff at.
Well, Instagram, still a big kid. That's where I post all my pictures. If you're on Facebook groups, I'm in the G.I. Joe Experience. I'm in the Marauders Gun Runners page. I'm on or the groups rather. I'm in I'm in a bunch of groups because I collect 12-inch stuff. I collect 132nd military toys. I collect vintage marks, plastic army men. I've got a whole bunch of those from way before my childhood, before I was even born. So I'm on those and I do a lot of photos with those as well. But if you're looking for me on Facebook in any groups, you'll find me under James Passman. But I do everything here on Still a Big Kid. I actually have a YouTube account that I've had for years, and I'm very close to starting just really going with that YouTube channel where each week, maybe a couple times a week, I'll take a figure, and it'll be from all genres and just kind of like do an overview. And if I start that up, man, I'd appreciate everybody, liking and subscribing to it rather. But I really want to do that just because that'll give me a reason to get it down and play with it and look at it and take videos of it and talk about it, and so but right here, Still a Big Kid on Instagram. That's where I'm at. Takes me a long time to answer a question, doesn't it? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Now I'm starting to echo, so I guess it's time to end the recording.
Hey man,
Thank you.
I enjoyed it, buddy.
Thank you so much for coming on. I had a great time. Everybody, when he starts that YouTube, gets it going, let's all subscribe.
I'll let you guys know. I sure will.
We'll have you on. You can talk about it.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.
Take care.